This coming up weekend, it is the San Diego International Auto Show happening at the Convention Center this weekend. But before we get to that, Courage decided to go up to LA and check out the Los Angeles Auto Show. So on this episode, you'll hear all about his trip to Los Angeles to check out what it was like to be at the massive LA Auto Show. You'll hear all the cool things, what he did, what it was like, all of that and more on this episode. Let's go. Okay, we are back with Courage. Courage, the amazing, wonderful YouTuber himself, big time in the car space. Big time went all the way to Los Angeles to see the Los Angeles, is it International Car Show? Or how do you say it over there?
I don't know if it's, although they have a lot of, cars or companies that come out, but I think they just call it the LA Auto Show, I believe.
Yeah, I've been to the one in San Diego every single year. It's been down here. And so the one in Los Angeles just happened as we record this episode right now. And you decided just like out of a whim just to head over there?
So yeah, like similar to you, I've gone as a San Diego one pretty much every year since I've been out here. And we'd talked to a few people about the LA Auto Show, but it was spurred particularly by like some folks in the in community. It was like, oh, you should go. And like, we actually got a discount. We got like a 10% discount through the SoCal in club.
What does it cost for tickets? Is it expensive?
They were like 20. Well, with the discount, it was $21. So I think it was $25.
That's not bad.
Yeah, for an adult. Not bad at all. Yeah, definitely worth it.
Okay. Yeah, man. So I know the one in San Diego is about the same price, but it's much, much smaller. I heard the one in LA is like massive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if you talk about cost, because they're about the same cost, but totally different scales. I mean, San Diego's, I enjoyed it. And it was always kind of like this sort of tradition around like New Year's time to go to the San Diego Auto Show. But, being that I had never gone to the LA Auto Show, I was kind of blown away at just the scale of the show overall.
So where do they have the thing physically at in Los Angeles?
Yeah, so it's at the LA Convention Center, which is right across from the crypto arena in LA.
That's where the Lakers play, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I stayed there. I mean, I stayed across the street from there, but yeah, I know exactly where that is. Mm-hmm. And the LA Convention Center, I'm not too familiar where that. I probably have seen it. I probably driven by it.
Yeah.
And now, is it bigger than the San Diego Convention Center? About the same size, or?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure because San Diego's Convention Center is like it spans like a couple of blocks in terms of like from the start. Because if you're familiar with San Diego, I know you are, but just people listening is it sort of overlooks a little bit of like the coastal area. There's like a little bay area there, and it's a really long convention center that spans like a couple of blocks near like the gas lamp area. But it has two levels, and it's not very wide. Like there's two levels, and a lot of times really the auto show is only in like one part of that. So with the LA Auto Show, I felt like it was a lot larger of a space because they had totally different sections. They had like a west wing, a south wing. There was another part that I don't even think we made it to. And there's just a lot of different...
Maybe Chevy, and like, that's it. So yeah. Did this one have like all that kind of stuff too? Or is it just purely like a SEMA show?
Yeah, no, and I apologize. My neighbor just this part, but if you can hear that, that's him leaving with his loud motorcycle right now. So I apologize if you can hear that. But yeah, it was about it definitely, I've noticed a drop off as well. Even with the San Diego Auto Show. I remember when BMW and Mercedes came out, and to the point where they had stopped, and it was like a lot of like Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, that realm. And I think it was really the same. I talked to a couple of people there at the LA Auto Show, and they said the same thing, that there was a year where it was just flooded with brands, all kinds of brands, and that was really you couldn't make it to everything in one day because there were just so many brands, to the point now where it's definitely condensed a bit. Although I think that now it's sort of worked a little bit more in the favor of the show, because the ones that are still there really invest a lot into their booths or their, I guess you can say, their displays.
Now, do they even give out paperwork anymore? Because I remember they used to, like, for years, I'd go over there with a little baggie they give you, like Toyota, get a little baggie out, and like you fill your bag, fill of all of like the cool like swag. It was stickers, it was decals, and I think Scion was there. They gave out keychains and stuff like that, bottle cap openers, and they have all these like big pamphlet manuals. But over the last how many years, everything's gone digital, where it's like
that's it.
Just scan the website or look at the website or whatever. Is it like that there too at the LA show?
That's it. And I do think that their biggest goal a lot of times is just, to be totally honest, they really just want to get your information so that they can follow up with you afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Do a test drive. Do you want to do a test drive? Yeah, sure. Fill us out. Give us your email. That's
exactly.
Right. Every single time. Every single time. Yeah. My email's out to all of the Toyota dealers, Lexus dealers, the Jeep dealers. They all got my email from all the different test drives, all the different things.
And I get it, from that perspective that, again, what they invest in these displays and putting this all together, it's a lot of money. Like some of the things that they had, like Volkswagen had this one like thing that was it was totally tailored to kids, which is really interesting. But they had guys that were giving kids out. Like when we got there, even if you had like 3 kids, like they give each individual kid this little box that had this car that you could just kind of put together. And it was just like one screw that you could kind of screw in with a hex bolt.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. They give all the kids the cars. They let them like sit there and actually color it and like design it and do little things to it. And then they just let them like, race on this little racetrack, this little downhill racetrack that they have. And, even that, just the fact that like every time I was watching them, because we were there for probably an hour, because the kids just did not want to leave. But you saw them like when they started running out of like these cars, they like had this huge box full of like more cars that they would then like get out and get ready for more kids to come. And just like all the things that they're investing in this sort of experience that they're trying to build to make the brand more memorable. I sort of understand why they want to find a way to convert that into interested buyers at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think a lot of them do that. I mean, one year there was a rock climbing wall. One year I was there, the kids did that. Yeah. They had these little electric, like I don't know what you call them, like little babies, electric, Jeep cars. They were like going around a track. My kids did that when they were really little. And, of course, the test tracks. I remember 2 years I did the actual off-road with the Toyota where they let you drive, not they drove. I got to drive.
Oh, wow.
It was a dirt off-road track at the back of the convention center, the back parking lot. This big dirt off-road course. I did the Toyota truck and I did the FJ Cruiser on the course. And ever since then, they started doing the Jeep track inside, and you would be a ride along. You wouldn't actually drive, and then they took that out and made it this electric like cone course kind of a thing. Yeah. But so how long did it take you to get over there? What time of day did you leave? Get there really early or what?
That's a great question.
So, got there late or something?
We did. We didn't leave Temecula area until like around 11:30, I believe, 11:45.
Yeah, you got kids. You got to get them in the car. It's hard. I get it.
Get kids in the car, dude. My oldest. I know we texted about this a little bit. My oldest was just livid. Like he did not want to go. He knew it was going to be a long car ride, and he was like, "Leave me home. Like I'll stay home and I'll watch TV." And I'm like, that's not happening. Like we're going. And so we had a whole deal just leaving the house. And turns out, I mean, he had an awesome time. He was the one who was telling us he didn't want to leave. And
how ironic is that? Huh?
How ironic is that? Yeah. So yeah, it was a fun experience leaving. But yeah, going there, it took us right about 2.5 hours to get there. And, traffic in sort of Riverside area, or well, not Riverside, but in like Lake Elsinore area going towards like Coronado or Corona. We get like a little pocket of traffic because there's a lot of people that are coming from like San Bernardino and Riverside that are trying to go like to the coastal cities. And so you get a real bottleneck there. And then obviously anywhere near LA is always packed with traffic. So yeah, it took us 2.5 hours to get there, which it wasn't bad. We got there right around like 2:00. And
it was a Saturday, right?
It was a Saturday, yeah.
And what time did they close on that Saturday? Because sometimes they close early or whatever. I don't know.
I think it was around 8 or 9. We left at like right at like 6:30 or something. So we were there a good 4.5 hours.
And you think you saw enough?
No, because I saw posts and things on Instagram with stuff that we didn't even see.
Oh man, that sucks. So you get so you get there around 2:00. You said?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get there. Is there a parking garage? Where do you park when you get over there?
That was another thing. Parking was very confusing. Maybe it's a little better. Maybe I know the lay of the land a little bit more with San Diego's auto show, but it was not very clear where you could park. There was one parking spot, or parking lot area that was sort of directing us to it. And when we got there, let's just say it was not a place that I wanted to park my car.
We got like tagging cars with graffiti or something.
It just did not. It was not conducive to like a safe environment, like parking lot.
And there's no actual parking garage there. Do you park cars there?
There probably is, but it just wasn't well marked, especially for people that don't know the lay of the land there. Like there's some people that go every year, so they probably know. But we ended up parking in this, I guess it's like a shared parking structure for like an apartment complex there, like one of those like high-end apartment complexes where they actually have like valet parking for the people that live at the apartment.
What kind of apartment is that? Man,
yeah,
valet parking.
You can tell like as you're driving by, like this is one of those like real like upscale like apartment types of. I mean, I imagine it's literally right across the street from the crypto arena. So.
It's funny. I think I did stay at a place over there, and I remember that when we parked our car in valet down at the bottom, we'd go get it or whatever. I don't know. We were down there at the basement area, and there were lots of like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and a lot of Range Rovers that were parked down there in like that bottom area. So I imagine that. I think it was like a / apartment building / like. I don't know what it was. A hotel.
They got the penthouses.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you parked the car.
We parked there. Yeah, and it was directly across the street from the arena.
Oh, it's even better. It's right there. Yeah. If you have a hike in the million miles to get to find your car to get to the place.
Yeah.
So you already bought the tickets? Do you have them already on you online digitally? Or you have to buy them in person?
We did digital, and as I mentioned, we actually got a 10% discount from the Inn Club that we're a part of, and they partner with Hyundai, which was pretty cool. They gave us a 10% discount, so just a couple bucks off, $4 or $5 off the ticket, but it was definitely pretty cool and to do that. So
did kids get in free or anything like that?
Yeah, so kids were free.
Even better.
I think it's under 6, I believe, or 5-ish. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the San Diego one, I think it was like Sundays was the kids getting free.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's usually the days we end up going is because of that. Because it's like, why pay the extra
I usually go Sundays too, just because it's like, what do you want to do this weekend? Kind of a thing. It's not a last. Usually it's like a last. I always wanted to go, but it's kind of been a last minute thing sometimes. So I was like, let's go on Sunday. Let's make a Sunday day out of it. But so you go down there or up there, I guess, and then you park the car and you get in the place. Now, when you get into the building, is it kind of like one in San Diego where it's like you're kind of hit in awe of like, where do you want to go? Or is it like it's kind of like set up in a way where you have to kind of follow this path?
No, this is one where if you're going, I would recommend having a map to know where things are, because there's actually two different entrances that you can come in. There's one, I don't know if the one we came in is the main entrance, but it would be sort of weird if that was the only entrance, because to get to the other side where we saw a lot of the like Hyundai and Toyota and some of the other brands, it's a pretty long walk to get over this like sort of bridge that takes you from the west lot or the west room to the south room of the convention center. But it's there's a lot to it. Like the moment we walked in, GMC and Hummer and Chevy had sort of a display. And we got kind of distracted there. We spent a good like 20, 25 minutes just like
were you checking out the truck you drove? Was it
yeah, they had one. Yeah, they had the GMC version, but yeah, it was there.
You're like, I drove this. Check this out. I know where these buttons are. I know how to drive this
100%.
thing.
Yeah. I was taking a look at that. We looked at the Escalade IQ, and the Hummer EV in person was pretty cool to see. That thing's just a monster of an SUV or of a truck.
It's
for sure.
ridiculously overpriced too. Like
it is. 100%.
It is a flex. It is like, look at me. I guess the first one was too. If you think about it, the original
it was.
H2.
Yeah.
It totally
they didn't
was.
depart from that characteristic, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. But they're saying, well, at least we're green now, so suck it, because everyone's like complaining how big gas hog the thing was.
Yeah.
But that's cool. The kids got to play with that stuff, get in the driver's seat and like push buttons and pretend they're driving and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, no, they enjoyed that. The cool part, honestly, when we first got there though, before we even made it into any of like the main rooms though, was we actually had to take a restroom break. Funny enough, and
a long car drive, I would too.
Yeah, we got in and we got distracted with all that stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, everybody's got to go to the restroom. Let's go." And so we start walking towards the restrooms on this like west end of the building, and there's this one room where they had converted it into almost like it looks like it's a parking garage because they actually had like the flooring like as if like there were parking spots and things like that. And it was a whole JDM style, like kind of car show type thing that they had kind of built in this little section, right where the bathrooms were. But then there's two little sections, and this is where I say we spent literally an hour in this area before we even made it into like the main displays. Was like they had the little JDM car show area on like a far side away from all of it, not even clearly directed. They had this area where they had the original Supra from the Fast and the Furious. They had the I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the Need for Speed game series and things like that, but they had the M3 GTR from the Most Wanted series with the big wing, the blue and silver M3. They had that on display. And then they had like Alex Choi is like a big YouTuber. He has this really crazy built Huracan with these glass panels in the front along like the headlights and like all this just totally all over the top designed Huracan, but had that all in display on this little section that's like you could easily miss it. It wasn't defined at all.
Did they have I thought I saw
Han's like Sylvia S15 with the orange and blue livery. And then they had some other I don't know if they were movie cars, but they were just, kind of just, very modified, Japanese JDM cars.
I'm really curious about these movie cars. What I'd like to know is that, are they truly modified or are they just cosmetically modified?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. None of them had their hoods open. So
yeah, it's like a regular engine with like, it's like nothing modified.
Yeah. The Z, I would say the 350 and probably the Sylvia, they probably have to be at least suspension wise, because you could tell with the 350 that it had like the way the wheels were turned. They had to have like upgraded the steering rack for like one of those like drift rack, setups where you get a bunch of steering angles. So I would imagine if they went as far to do that probably there's some other modifications. The funny thing was that even though like pretty much everything, they were pretty well cleaned and everything.
Of course, they have a guy coming through there with a rag and like some, spray wax or whatever they got. And even at the San Diego one, they had guys there who just constantly spraying and wiping because people get their fingerprints all over them and now were those ones behind ropes you couldn't get too close enough?
So a lot of those cars are kind of roped off. They don't want you getting too close. The other room I was going to say about the 350 though, the 350 had like almost like a plastic bag like taped over the driver's side window. And so that was a little weird to me. Like I said, it was immaculately detailed, but then like it had a plastic bag over the driver window. It's like, okay, like that's not something that we could have got fixed.
It's supposed to be that version because it was in the Japan. It was supposed to be in Japan. Should be right side drive, right?
That's true too, actually. Yeah. So maybe it was the passenger. It was on the left side of the car. But yeah, you're right. That probably was the passenger side. The other side was so tinted that you can't even see in it. So
yeah. Well, you couldn't even really tell. That's a Hollywood secret, They tint all the cars, front windshield, everything, so you can't see the driver who actually is driving the car.
Yeah.
Behind the wheels. It kind of like, it's a little Hollywood magic. Speaking of right side cars, yesterday, I kid you not, on the freeway, I was heading on I think it was on the 52 freeway. Anyways, I see this car come behind me. It's kind of a lower Toyota. It looked like I wasn't too familiar. It wasn't like a sports coupe. It was like a Toyota. What's that like? I mean, the older Celica or something. I don't know. It didn't look too old. It didn't look too new either. Anyways, the guy was on the right side. He was driving on the right side of the car. The guy driving it. I looked at it twice. I'm like, what? That guy's on the wrong side. Oh, holy crap. Look at that thing. It's just out of Japan, whatever it was. And he had it on the right side. So that was very interesting. But anyways, back to the auto show. So you're there at the auto show, walking around from booth to booth, just in awe. And the kids are probably just jumping around from car to car. Every car you can like get their hands on, they probably jumped in, right?
Yeah. One quick thing I want to add on that little section there, though, is there was a room there that was sponsored, I guess, by this company. I'm not sure the company, and I won't shout them out because they aren't doing anything. But they had this particular room that I think was tied to like a casino or something of that sort. They had I was just super well, just like with the lighting perfect and everything. They had 3 cars from the Peterson Museum that they displayed. They had a SLR McLaren, a mint condition NSX, the 90s, like early 2000s NSX.
Nice, yeah.
And then I'm blanking on the other car that they had on the far left. I have pictures of it, but I can't remember. And then they had a couple of race cars kind of here and there, like actual, like, Le Mans race cars and things like that. But this one room, like I said, is like, $100 million room where you just walk in like unsuspecting of what you're about to behold in terms of the cars that are in it. And again, like this was all before we actually made it to the actual show. It was pretty cool. Porsche had actually a little section too, where they had a Carrera GT and a Porsche 918, just like right as you kind of enter to like the West Wing. And then they had like a lot of their 911 STs and things like that. But yeah, like the special rooms, I think, is really what made the LA Auto Show, for me at least, stand out so much more than the SD one.
Yeah, because SD is like one big room with like different like little exhibits. You kind of like wander through from exhibit to exhibit, and you kind of just like wander through like a big open space. Like it's all open concept. So you're saying they're kind of like they have different compartments?
Just little compartments. Yeah. Like, even on your way to like the West Wing, which is the first little section that we went in, where Kia was more of like the dominant brand over there. They were like, the moment you walk in the door, like they had a Kia and a Ford booth, and so that was their little section there, and then some other automakers. If you go to the right before you went into the door, there's another little room that had a guy that I don't know if it was like Carl Shelby's like son or like relative or somebody that was tied to just Shelby Automotive. He was signing pictures and signing posters for people. I didn't get one because I just got distracted by a whole bunch of other stuff that was going on. And, they had some, Lamborghini Aventadors and, F12 Berlinetta Ferraris and things on display.
And all those cars are roped off, I'm assuming. You can't get to those, right?
Yeah. So anything in the special rooms were, really,
Yeah, they have some of those in San Diego, too. They have like a little section at one end where it's like specialty cars. Usually it's like a few Lamborghinis and a vintage Mustangs and vintage Corvettes, things like that. And they're all behind the rope. You can't really even like get close to them or whatever and all that kind of stuff.
And even like the actual automakers, like, in their displays, like they have certain cars that they don't want you to actually like, really interact with, or they're locked, like especially like pre-production cars or anything like that. There were a few of those where they had some pre-production models of cars that you couldn't actually get in, but you could get up close and see some details and things like that. I didn't even get to Chevy. I'm not even sure which room Chevy was in, but I saw that the ZR1X was on display.
That's the electric version of the Corvette?
So that's the one with basically with the ZR1 with the flat plane crank V8, but then also with electric motors. Yeah. So
man, they're just stacking too much on there. It's like when you go get the yogurt at the yogurt place and you just and you get all the stuff you want to throw on top, all sprinkles and cookies. And
I instantly knew you were going to say something about food. I was like, what food reference is he going to be? But
it's like it's like hey Mason, they charge by the weight. Why are you putting like those rock candies on there? I mean, they're like so heavy.
Yeah.
It's like a $20 yogurt all of a sudden,
The interesting thing about that, though, with the ZR1 and the ZR1X particularly, is I remember a long time ago, not to go on a tangent, but I remember that when the E-Ray first came out, and the Z06, they had talked about the E-Ray in the sense where like they knew that the construction, like some engineers and some people had like, basically talked about how the Corvette chassis, the platform, allowed them to basically have an all-wheel drive solution for both like the Z06, but then when the ZR1 came out, it also had the same construction, like center tunnel design, where they ultimately could make it all-wheel drive if they wanted to. And it was really interesting when the ZR1 came out that people were like, oh, well, the natural progression is for them to just utilize the same thing they did with the E-Ray from the Z06 and just make an all-wheel drive version with an electric motor. And that's literally just what they did. They just took the same platform and then just slotted their electric motor in the front and made the ZR1X. And it was like, it was I'd say it's pretty genius on their part that they knew that this was just how we were going to progress this forward. We were going to build this in a way where like we're going to give the internal combustion guys what they want, but we're going to always kind of have that ability now to add on to it with the electric side, the hybrid side, and then make this crazy hypercar monster that the ZR1X is, which is just an insane thing.
That's crazy. Now, what is the price point for that thing?
It's definitely over $2 for sure.
Well,
I don't know exactly, but
I mean, people say it's crazy expensive, but you look at some of these Lambos and Ferraris, they're that, like, that is a cheap one if you think about it. Like, some are way more than that, and it's like, what do you do with that? Like, what do you do? Like, I mean, do you just like put on display, or do you just take it to a track? Like, and just see how fast you can go?
Because if you're doing it, you're driving down the street and trying to enjoy it, like, you're just going to jail. Like, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Like, when you're going to push it in the wrong spot and just go to jail.
I'm sure some YouTubers probably, jump at the chance to do that. And I mean, some of these YouTubers are getting crazy. Not you, of course, but some of the crazy ones are getting crazy with their cars and the different stunts they're doing and just trying to overtime. It's like they've almost done everything possible. Like, I don't know what you can do now,
Yeah.
But I think electric cars are fine. Listen, they have a place. But having an engine, like a real nice sound engine, just sounds great.
Yeah.
And I love the new Corvette. The new C8, dude, I wanted one, the engine in the back and all that. I mean, they don't sound like an exotic, they sound like a muscle, like a Corvette. Really, we hear them. But,
well, it's really interesting too. Like, I actually really, again, I did a video on this a little while back, and it was spurred off by like this guy that does a lot of videos for Haggerty, Jason Camisa, and he did a video on all of the generations of ZR1 and like the special Corvettes, and he talked like briefly about why the C8 had to become sort of a mid-engine platform sports car / supercar, because there was just a certain point. There's a certain point where a rear-wheel drive front-engine car just cannot perform at the level that a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car can, or all-wheel drive car can. And he was talking basically like if you see any clips of like a C7 ZR1, which was, I think it was like 750 horsepower manual rear wheel drive
supercharged
car, like trying to put that power down in any scenario just leaves you're just leaving a cloud of smoke everywhere. And it's sort of known as a bit of a widowmaker, because it's just, to control that on a track it takes a really kind of skilled person to do. But then they show a clip of the C8 ZR1 literally just being able to out-launch the C7 ZR1, and it literally has 1,000 horsepower to the C7 700 horsepower. So, like, in theory, you're thinking, well, like a car with 1,000 horsepower is going to have even worse a time getting off the line. But it was just really cool to hear his explanation of why a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car was where they had to go to now kind of push all of this like platform forward in terms of performance. And, Chevy was willing to do it, because it wasn't like they were trying to hold on to this, like, oh, the Corvette is this and we can't change it. They've always wanted to chase performance. And the only natural way to do it was to do that with the C8.
Yeah, I heard that they were trying to design a rear engine Corvette for years.
Yeah.
And it was just happened to be the right time, I guess. And they put something together. And yeah, that's I'm not a big fan of Chevy. I mean, but that's a Chevy I would buy. But that's a Chevy I would buy. Yes. The Corvette would be the one I buy. Yes.
Yeah. Out of all. Yeah. I'll take it.
Some people are like, they don't like certain car brands, but there's like the one car that brand makes. Like, I get it. That'd be the one, I think for me, it would be the Corvette.
And I'm like that with the Mustang, where I'm like, I'm not like a huge Ford guy, but I mean, I will take a Mustang like any day, for almost any generation, except for the Mustang 2, maybe. But
yeah, Mustang 2, what hideous. But I did hear there was a couple of versions that had like a V8 in those things. I heard. Yeah,
they did. Some of the later ones.
Yeah, but I had a buddy who had one of those, and it was basically a Pinto. It was basically a Pinto with a Mustang badge on it. That's all it was.
Well, both of them did that too. The Chevy and Ford had that era where they they were like, yeah, we're going to pull like from some European like small car routes. And I mean, Ford had the Pinto, so they had that ability to do it. But, even like the second gen Camaro, it was the second gen, I believe. Yeah. Second gen Camaro, they had like the Berlinetta edition. There was like, I think it was a 4-cylinder or maybe it was a V6, but it was supposed to be more of like a luxury car. It wasn't like, they weren't at all really kind of looking at like the usual like pony car, muscle car demographic. They were like, we want to make like a really plush like luxury car out of the Camaro. And I feel like both Ford and Ford and Chevy had just kind of a weird time where they just didn't quite know where they wanted to take the second generation of their cars. And so they either borrowed a Pinto chassis and built something off of that, or they tried to turn a Camaro into a luxury car, and they finally found their way back a little bit. And, again, Ford ultimately kind of won out the war because the Mustang's still here and the Camaro's not. So,
well, maybe they'll bring it back. You never know. I mean,
we had that point in the 2000s. Yeah. So you're right.
So cars come and go, but at the LA Auto Show, now, was there any car manufacturers that were not there? You're like, where's this brand at?
I sort of was surprised that Tesla wasn't there.
Why would they be there? They never go to I don't think of them as like a car. I mean, it's a car brand. I don't think of them as like a enthusiast car brand. I don't know.
The only reason that I say that, and you're right, like they normally don't do that kind of stuff because just what their model is. Like, I mean, they technically make their own auto shows with the way that they have their sort of, mall-based kind of displays and things like that.
Right, don't you buy them at like a store or something? They don't even go to like a dealer.
Yeah, like that, I get that 100%. The main reason I feel like it was surprising was because, again, brands like Lucid were there. Rivian was there. Rivian's been there, so that's not a huge surprise. Scout was there.
Oh, I wanted the Scout so bad, dude.
Yeah. Scout had a really cool display outside of the whole thing as you're coming in that we kind of wish we would have had a chance to spend a little bit more time in. But yeah, Scout was there. And then obviously just the automakers, the main makers that now have their EV, lines like the Silverado EV, I know Ford is thinking about getting rid of the Lightning, surprisingly, but they were still that representation. And I feel like it was sort of a missed opportunity, mainly for Lucid to be there and Tesla not to be there.
Because they're both EV companies, you're saying.
They're both EV companies. They're both, US-based EV companies. And, now for people to start to really kind of, learn more about Lucid and, now they have this electric EV minivan, quote unquote, SUV. They want to call it an SUV, but it's basically a minivan. But that goes 0 to 60 in like 3.5 seconds. The fact that they have these sort of game-changing EVs now makes me wonder why Tesla is so confident in the way they've already been doing things that they wouldn't step into the mix now and start to, bring themselves back in so that people can get acclimated with their cars. Like
I think Tesla doesn't care. Honestly, they're like above it. They're like, we're too good for that.
You might be, yeah.
We are so above your little pathetic, little auto show. That's cute, kids. Okay,
yeah.
Look, we're Tesla. Okay, we got better things to do.
And I 100% can see it. Like me personally, I think it's a mistake. But again, I'm not Tesla. I'm not the guys that are running the show, and so maybe I know they probably got a different outlook on it. But people
are going to buy no matter what. They're going to buy Tesla no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter if they're auto show or not. If Tesla's at the auto show, it's not going to convince anybody to buy Tesla. I think a Tesla, if somebody sees a Tesla, knows a Tesla, Tesla's so well known And the brand, the car company, the cars are everywhere. At least here in Southern California, it seems everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I'm sure you can, I think you can order from their website. I don't think you have to go to a store.
Yeah, you don't even have to. Yeah.
The convenience by it all. I personally like to test drive a car before I buy one. Maybe I'm just old fashioned that way. I don't know if I can just
feel. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do the whole vending machine Carvana experience. I don't know if I can do that. I want to physically drive the thing, pop the hood, look, see what I got under the engine, that kind of stuff. But some people don't. Some people just want to just buy whatever. Or same thing with like phones and stuff too. Like if you go to the phone store and you buy a new iPhone or whatever, some people like to play with it. Some people just order it and they figure, it's good, whatever.
Well, that's a good point. Cause there's people like, if you just take the phone, the phone sector, for example, like there's certain people that like, it doesn't matter what's going on with Apple. Like they're going to get the new iPhone. Like they're not even thinking about what, another phone brand is doing. Like it's not even on their radar. And, I guess you can say, yeah, like Tesla's in a spot where there's people that, they aren't even thinking about like what the comparable EV is going to be. It's like, if I was going to get a Tesla, like I'm just going to get a Tesla.
Oh, and totally. I don't think
that might be the laurels they're resting on,
Right. Until, their market share gets eaten up by Lucid or Rivian or whoever else or whatever else. But there's so many EV cars you can choose from, not just Tesla, but like you say, like Hyundai's got a bunch, Kia's got a bunch, Ford's got a bunch, Chevy's got a bunch. I think Volvo, and they all got a bunch of their EV versions of stuff. So even with all that, Tesla's like, nah, we're good. We don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't need.
Man, that's a good place to be, man.
It's good to be at the top, It's and I said I've never owned a Tesla. I've driven one. You've driven one. They're nice cars. Not saying they're not nice. I'm sure they're great. They got a great network. They got the great charging network. They got the great updates to do in the thing. They probably have really, really great customer service. I'm sure where you can text somebody on the app and get it fixed immediately. I don't know. So they have this whole ecosystem. So I think another thing too is I think it's kind of cool. It's a cool vibe to say you drive a Tesla.
Yeah.
And it's like, remember when Starbucks first came out and it was like everybody's carrying the cool Starbucks cup. It was like a status symbol.
Starbucks. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for like an Apple, like a MacBook computer. Like,
Yeah. Still think that hasn't faded yet. Like, Apple products in general just have this like, this thing about them versus like anything else where like, like there's a standout product here and there, but they haven't quite garnered that like loyalty factor, I feel like, as Apple has. I will say with Starbucks though, they got a real fierce competitor coming down their side of things right now in the coffee space.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. A lot of them are dead now. I'm not saying dead, but a lot of them are not as busy as they once were. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they're closing places. They were on every corner for a while. There was this one, if you're familiar with Mission Gorge Road in San Diego, off the 8 freeway, I remember a while ago, there was literally like 3 Starbucks within like walking distance of each other. I kid you not. In that whole block section over there. I was like, yeah, it'd be crazy. There's one here, one there, one there. I think they closed most of them down. There might be one left, but it was like 4 or whatever. Then one little section. That's crazy. But anyways, back to the auto show. So you're walking around, checking different things out. Do you guys have anything to eat while you're there? Was there anything to eat or anything? Or what?
Yeah. The food select, they had, chicken tenders, fries for the kids, whole little pizza set. Yeah, no, and again, this was just the food court we went to. We found out when we went to the other side, there was another whole food court.
No way. That's great.
So yeah, you're dialed in with food there.
And they had the bathrooms, or were they in the convention center? Or you had to leave to go to the bathrooms?
No, they had an overabundance of bathrooms as well. Like each main entrance had a bathroom, and then like when we first came in, there was a bathroom. Again, the bathroom was leading us to this multi-million-dollar car collection, which was pretty cool. But yeah, they super set with like bathrooms, and I'd say overall the facility was just was pretty top notch. Like the only slight downside, I guess you can say, is that the west side where we first got in there's a pretty long walk to get to the south side, like a big long just kind of one of those like almost like airport corridors kind of thing.
Oh, right. Like a walkway. They kind of you keep walking forever kind of thing.
And it's uphill if you're going from the west to the south side as well. So we weren't allowed to bring our like wagon. Like they don't let you bring like big wagons and things, which I can totally understand why. But when you got a 2.5-year-old and a 6-year-old that's lazy a little bit, like they you're either going to carry them or you're going to hear them complaining about walking a lot. But that again, that's just a small downside.
No strollers are allowed either.
They do like you can bring a small stroller, and like if you have a double stroller, like I think they would let that slide. But they were specifically discriminate in their directions about wagons, like where they consider a wagon wagon with the 4 wheels on each side. Like they said that you couldn't bring that. That was like they were pretty like, don't do that. But strollers you could bring. So I don't know if they had a particular incident in the past and they just, have wrote those off completely. But San Diego Auto Show lets us do that all the time. So I was a little surprised by that.
Huh. Interesting.
But
so fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the kids are tired. I'm sure walking around.
They weren't. No, but I mean, they enjoyed themselves. Like there was a lot to entertain both like, the adults and the kids, which again is a huge shout out to them because, the San Diego Auto Show was maybe like yes, they could get in the cars and kind of check them out. And there was maybe like some little things here and there that the kids could do, but they could get bored pretty quick because there wasn't a lot tailored to that.
Or someone who's not really into cars,
or can
get bored really, really quick. Because we brought somebody that was really into cars the last time we went a couple years ago, and literally we were checking out, like we were under our second exhibit, and he was already bored when I go home.
Yeah,
like already bored. I'm like, we haven't seen it
surface yet.
Yeah, right. We haven't seen anything. We just got here. He's like, I want to go home already. Like, we just got here, like, so I guess it depends on anything. Like if someone would drag me to something I don't want to go see or be at, I might get bored with it too. So I get that, I guess. But so you saw as much as you could. Now, did you go for any of the cool ride-alongs like at all?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, what'd you got? What'd you do?
Yeah, so they did have like the Jeep excursion thing that they do where you can ride along and go up the little really steep hill.
Metal ramps and stuff, right?
Metal ramps and things like that. We didn't get to do that because, with the family, they don't allow kids to do that. But because they had that display where the kids like spent the whole hour just like racing their cars down the road and things like that, my wife kind of hung back and watched them, and it was a good break for her. She could just kind of chill and watch them, and she did a little trivia game actually that they were playing for the parents while they were there, which is pretty cool. I got a chance to sneak away to Hyundai's booth where they had the Ioniq 5N and the Ioniq 6N on ride-alongs within the convention center.
Because they're all electric, right? There's no exhaust, no smoke, and like that.
Yep, all electric. And yeah, and they had like a nice little course built out, and just kind of a little. It's not really a circle, but it was like a path where they could go like in a circle. They take you around twice, and then they come back and they switch out folks from there. And I had a chance I was like looking at some of the merch and things like that for a while. And I came back and like the staff there, like their particular marketing staff was like they were super chill. Like one of the ladies was like, yeah, like make sure you go with this guy because he'll actually like, he'll get on it for you and like make sure you get in that car. And so, I came up and I, filled out the waiver, which we talked about this before, but the main
email
thing
grabs, but it is
want to do is an email grab. And like, they do want to know like what cars you're potentially interested in, like your time frame of buying. And,
of course,
and I get it. They're spending so much money on this overall display and everything and bringing the cars out and everything. So I get it. Like they want to kind of translate some of that into some actual traffic. But the Hyundai, situation, they actually had like the EV9, they had like the big SUV where you could go for a ride, and they have a nice straightaway where they can gun it and you can feel like, the electric acceleration. But with the Ioniq cars, the 6N and the 5N, they actually had some guys behind the wheel that were drifting the cars inside the building. And I like we came in initially and we were looking at like all of the in-cars, which, big shout out to them because they brought out every single in-car they have, including this special edition one that they're bringing to the States next year. And so we were checking all of those out, and we started hearing like, like skid marks, like not just like from cars that are just trying to turn on like slippery floors, but like, actually like tires spinning. And we're like, what's going on? And so we peek around the wall where all the rest of the in cars are, and it was just as like this Ioniq 5N was drifting around this corner. And so I got a chance while the kids were playing and doing their car thing to take a ride around. And yeah, dude's like, he put the 5 all the way into like rear wheel drive bias, and they gun it down the straightaway and they make their turn around. And as they're going around this like, basically U-turn section, he just lets it go. He drifts it around, and he takes you around twice around the course. And each time you're going around this U-turn section, he'll drift it. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, that they're just like at a point where, they know the safety factor and everything is like good enough for them to be able to do it. But, they're letting you experience kind of this like fun section of electric cars by drifting them indoors.
That's great, man. What kind of like pavement were they running them on? Was it
it's
standard?
all... Yeah, like the slick, like if you've ever been in like those conference, those convention centers, like
were they just like leaving skid marks all over those things or what?
No, it surprisingly doesn't really. Like I'm sure like there's probably like little fine marks. Maybe they find a way to like get rid of that or something.
Yeah, it's kind of wondering if they're doing drifting. You're gonna be like leaving tire marks. Usually you do. So I was kind of wondering how that works.
If it's slippery enough though, like it's sort of like that effect if you were ever, when you were a kid, if you ever like took your RC cars and you take like the rear tires off of them, and you would when you take the rear tires off, then you could like by giving it giving it little throttle, you can actually cause it to drift around on like a slippery like wooden floor or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like it's kind of the same effect as like if the floor is slippery enough, the tires, like even with just a little bit of input, are going to start to spin. And so they, you're able to like get a chance to spin around without like as much effort as it takes on like a regular like asphalt, situation. So they seem to have it pretty dialed. I was impressed where, he would just go in, he'd just kick it in and just swing it around.
Were the tires slick already though?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, they're going pretty like continuously around. Like they're stopping for like maybe 2 minutes at most, and then just going back around the circle.
And there was no smoke coming off them, was there?
No, it's they don't. It's not like you're not getting a big smoke cloud.
So it's not
like
a real drift. It's not like it's like you're burning.
No.
Okay.
You say it's a over exaggerated slide, maybe. I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But you're getting sideways, which is the important thing.
Nice. God, I just imagine like tires being just like skid marks and like smoke, coming off the rear tires, and like everybody getting like dusted out with dust cloud of smoke in the convention center while you're going around the corner.
Yeah.
No, well, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty awesome. I wish I could have gone. I keep seeing the flyers for it on Instagram, and I followed I think I followed them on Instagram, the LA Auto Show. And I was like, I was checking out tickets, and I thought the tickets were like $100 for tickets. Maybe it was like a weekend package or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I only saw one option. It was like around $25 or something like that.
But maybe it was some kind of like group, like maybe it was like a big like VIP experience or something. I don't know. I mean, I went to their website, I was looking at different things, but so is it over now? Like, as we record this, the auto show is over this weekend?
No, so I mean, depending on when this comes out, I guess they run this for 2 weeks versus like the San Diego Auto Show. I think is usually
4 days.
Yeah, about 4 days. So maybe this is a good little like blur for next year because they seem to do it around the same time. But this year they're doing it from the 21st to the 30th. So that's they got pretty much a full 2 weeks of events, and a lot of the people there are going to be there the whole 2 weeks.
Size-wise, if you were to compare the two, like how much bigger than San Diego's is this overall?
At least double.
So take two of what San Diego puts together, two of those, put them together.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a possibility it's more, and I would definitely lean towards the side that it's probably more than that. But at least double is I think a safe estimate.
I wish a San Diego wanted to just get back into it and get back into like. Yeah. First, I like to have more variety of cars there, and also like a lot of. I don't know. It just seemed like it kind of became like one end of the convention center is like all selling you crap. And a lot of the crap they sell you is not even car related stuff. It's like solar for your house and like other stuff, And
the unfortunate, I think the unfortunate thing is that LA really has like a pull with like the car community in general. And I think that's the reason why you get a lot of like that whole JDM section that was, all fully modified JDM cars, from a lot of the shops that are in the area. Like they have cars that they just kind of donate for the show. Even some of the main actual like manufacturers, like Toyota, for example, in their display, they had like an old Toyota Land Cruiser, like the 80s, like the 80. See, I don't know the series and things, but they had like an old like mint condition like 80s Land Cruiser on display, as well as like kind of an early Toyota Celica. And for sure that they came from people like that were probably in the area that were like, we want to kind of show people like the history of Toyota. So like, do you mind displaying your car here? Like I think that LA kind of lends a little bit more to a lot of these like mod shops and like tuning shops and just this car culture that's there that allows them to have these more like specialized sections versus like in San Diego, we have some, but we don't have as much of those like specialty shops and things like that where they're just leaning on the manufacturers to try and bring that experience. But unfortunately, the manufacturers got a limit on how much they really want to spend and invest in the show. And so unfortunately, you get a lot more of a watered down experience, I feel like, on the San Diego side, sadly to say.
Yeah, and I still go every year, and I still do it. But like I said, it's like where it used to be like you needed like a full day to see everything in the San Diego thing. Now it's like a couple hours, you're good.
Blow through it, yeah.
Yeah, and you just go through it and you might sit in the car you want to sit in, and you might check out. Because I used to go there, I kid you not, with my digital camera and burn through 2 memory cards, taking pictures of everything. I mean, everything. I mean, every single car was there. I took a picture of it, everything that was there. And sit in everything, and I'd sit in everything, take pictures of everything, and I get all the flyers and all the brochures for everything. Actually, it was like a full-on event for me when I would go. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Every single year I would go there. But I said lately, it's just been kind of a disappointment. It's just been kind of like it's like, some of the cars you want to sit in, maybe you want to check out the new Mustang. But then the thing is, some of the new stuff's not even there. Like the new whatever's coming out, it's not even there. They've got like whatever they're selling today. Like whatever they have there, you can go walk to the dealership and go check out yourself. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. It's like, the experience used to be pretty top notch. And, again, that was even before I started like filming and doing things, but like you really did need a whole day, really to like experience, sometimes you might go back multiple days just because there was so much to see. But now it's like, yeah, you knock it out and you're like, okay, that was great. Like, but I mean, with the LA show, like again, like, I mentioned multiple times, like I saw posts of things that like, I didn't even know like that was there. Like I didn't see Chevy while we were there. Like, I didn't see there was like a lowrider exhibit that I didn't see.
No way.
There was just, and there was the whole outside section where we didn't even get to stop at like the scout section.
Dude, I want a Scout. I want to check it. Dude, that's like the only EV I really, really want.
Really,
is a Scout, because it looks cool.
That's like the small like EV truck.
And they got a truck and they got an SUV, but they're not that small. They're like mid-sized, I think. And they just look like the Bronco. I always like the Bronco, especially like the Raptor Bronco and the Sasquatch and all that. So they kind of have that style going on with the Scout, but it's not a Bronco. It's just something different. It's an EV and all this stuff. So I think it's kind of cool. I dig them. I've never seen one in person. I'm only on YouTube, of course. But so you did see them in person?
Yeah. I actually saw one when we went out to Monterey Car Week this year too. They brought some out to just some random coffee shop, like Cars and Coffee, that they did out there. They were pre-production. Like the lady didn't even really like let you see too much of the interior because they were still like pretty early pre-production. But they had a couple out on display out there at the show, and they had a whole band that was playing out. They created this whole like kind of almost beachside ambiance type thing, and a couple little displays. So yeah, no, they were out there full force.
Yeah, it doesn't come out to like 2027, I heard. And I'm thinking like, it's a cool car and everything, but like, it was announced like what, 2 years ago. It was announced or whatever it was announced. I'm like, by the time it comes out, we're gonna forget all about it.
That's been one of the biggest unanimous comments is that they announced it so long ago, and the potential production is going to be so far out that when it finally comes out, people are just gonna probably have either lost interest or like something else is gonna have come out in that time frame that just like draws their attention away from it.
Right. And they only got 2 vehicles. They're betting the farm on it. They're building a whole new factory and everything. So
yeah,
it's not like they can easily pivot to something else like Ford's trying to do with the Lightning. They're going to make a smaller version of the Lightning. Hear about that? It's going to be like a mini Lightning, I guess, or a mid-size Lightning. Yeah, they want to make like, I think the full-size electric is kind of like the thing. They're like, we don't like this. So they're going to try and make it like kind of like a Rivian size, like a Rivian competitor, like that size. Kind of a car or truck. So we will see what they do, whatever. I mean, the cars are cool. I mean, EVs seem to work out pretty well. I mean, they're pretty reliable from what I heard. I mean, I never owned one, but
we still like our motors.
I like the way it just depends on the kind of car you're going to do. I mean, if you want something just for transportation, point A, point B, maybe, I guess electric was good to go, whatever, but that range anxiety, like I said, it's a real thing. And I think if I did any kind of driving far, like anywhere or anything, I'd probably, and also filling up the juicing up the electric battery, like you got to pay for that Chevy. It wasn't cheap either.
Yeah, no, I was talking to a guy today about that. That was about the same as getting gas, and I didn't even fill up all the way. So, if I filled up all the way, I would say it was pretty apples to apples comparison in terms of price. So, you're not, again, you have the benefit of charging at your house.
You still have to pay for that.
But you have to pay for that. Yeah.
It ain't free.
So you get the convenience factor of being able to charge at your house, but, you're still paying for that. So,
yeah. But the thing is, there's gas stations everywhere. There's gas stations everywhere, man. It's not like you live so far away. There's no gas station. It's possible, but almost even towns like Victorville have gas stations.
Yeah, I guess if you're in that limbo between like if you live in like Gorman or something out and like going on the 5, going like up north or down south, like in that like little area where like the Grapevine is, and you get those little sections where you don't get
there's a gas station on the Grapevine though. There's 2.
There are, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's no excuse.
They're like 40 miles apart or something like that, I feel like. But
and what the prices for those gas stations, they can gouge you. They gouge you because they're like, what are you going to do?
I've seen some ridiculous stuff on some of those. Like back when gas prices they're still like relatively high, but back when they were like high everywhere, like it was like, they were high 5s, and then you would see like $7 a gallon at like some of those stations. It was just the craziest thing.
There's this gas station that I delivered to that is in Chula Vista area, and it's one of those stations where you're coming from like East Lake area, you're getting to the freeway. It's the only gas station before you hit the on-ramp, like only gas station before you hit the on-ramp. And it's got they're always like way overpriced. Like, And I'm like, the only reason why they do that is because they're like literally like you're coming from like East Lake to the freeway. It's like the last station, the only gas station before you get on the on-ramp. Yeah. It's like right there. It's like in and out. You swoop in, you swoop out, and it's right there. But the prices are like always like crazy high. But it's kind of the way it is, I guess. Supply and demand, location, that kind of stuff, So, but hey, Courage, man, this has been so great having you on the show again tonight and bringing you on by and your cool trip to the Los Angeles Auto Show, LA Auto Show, I guess. Yeah. And all those fun times. Now, did you find any car you wanted to buy that was there?
Yeah, good question. I'm just gonna start sounding like a Hyundai guy now, and I'm not even doing that intentionally. But there were 2 cars that they brought out. One actually from Hyundai, and then the other from Genesis, actually, which I know you shared some things from Genesis on your Instagram page. That they brought out. Hyundai had the new Hyundai Palisade, but it's the XRT version.
That's the SUV version, right?
Yeah, it's an SUV, but it's the off-road version. So they have like an off-road trim. And so it comes with like these big beefy tires. It's got a bit more ground clearance. You got a couple of like, kind of off-road kind of bits and pieces and things like that. But then it's a 3-row SUV, which, just kind of fits. They did Genesis brought out some of their like Magma cars, which that's what they're calling like their performance side of Genesis. And they brought out like I forgot exactly what it's called, like the GV60 Magma, I think they're calling it. And that car is basically sort of like an Ioniq 5N, but like more like luxurified, but then also some other crazy features on top of that. And they did a pretty cool job with that too. So I mean, those are the two on the Hyundai side. I also will say, though, I really like the Charger EV. I'm just putting it out there. I saw one on display. I got a chance to sit in it. I think it's a cool thing. Like,
well, you said it here first, man. Now, Does it feel any different than the regular Charger? Or Challenger EV or Charger EV?
Charge, yeah. Because now, like, weirdly enough, like the Charger EV, like they make a 4-door Charger EV and a 2-door Charger EV. So they've sort of combined the Challenger and the Charger as one thing now. And, they have a 2-door and a 4-door version of it. But they are making a 6-pack version of the Charger now with the straight 6 with a twin turbo.
Oh, I heard about that motor. It's like its own its own 2JZ.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, yes, it seems weird in a Charger, but I mean, it's a pretty powerful engine. And, and it sounds pretty cool too. I mean, it's weird to see it in something that, I say to this day, like, say what you want about the EV platform side of the Charger. I think they nailed the design. Like, if they would have just made a gas powered V8 version of the Charger and kept the design that they have now, I think they would have had a winning ticket completely. But, now that they've actually put a gasoline, even if it is a straight 6 engine in it, I think that it's a cool package. Like, yes, it's not the Challenger that we were used to, but I still think they have the same presence when they're rolling down the street. Like, they did a really good job with the design of it. And the interior is really nice. Who knows? I mean, I told you the only reason that I didn't drive a Charger EV when I rented the Silverado EV was because it was in the shop. And why would an EV that's only 2 years old be in the shop? I don't know. So
why would maybe an EV be in the shop, really? I mean,
yeah. So maybe we got the similar, Fiat Chrysler, Dodge reliability, even in the EV form. But
maybe.
But outside of that, like, I think it's a pretty cool package.
Well, that's cool, man. I mean, you can see yourself driving one of those things. It's pretty cool. I mean, I dig them too. I mean, I don't know if it depends. If I have choices of other cars, that's the thing. You've got choices.
Oh, yeah.
You're kind of like, I don't know, this one I like it better. This one, I think some of us just stick with our brands,
Yeah.
If you're a Ford guy or a Toyota guy or a Chevy guy or whatever guy you are, even though some car might be slightly better in other ways, have different features in other ways, you're like, well, I'm a Chevy guy, so I'm just going to stick with whatever Chevy makes, and things like that. So I get that. I think if you go to an auto show, like the LA Auto Show or San Diego Auto Show, you kind of like will jump right into your brand. Like I did the same thing. Oh, there's my brand car. I'm going to jump into that area, like your Hyundai area, and just be like in love. Like, check out all the cool Hyundai stuff I got. Because this is my cool people. This is my club,
Yeah.
I'm home.
Yeah. So they made it feel that way too, for sure. But yeah, no, I get you. I think it does, the challenge too is, again, with like a lot of brands dropping out, like, there's certain brands that I would love to see, that I would have loved to see there that weren't there. Like, I mean, I would love to see some new offerings from BMW, from Mercedes. Jaguar doesn't really exist anymore for some weird reason, but they got a lot of weird things going on.
F car they had.
Yeah, seeing the F-Type and, even they had the XF and, other cars like that, they're kind of out of the scene. But, with them dropping out, your list starts to dwindle a little bit. But, out of just like the cars that were there, the brands that were there, and then the brands that I think really are like really putting focus on like their new cars in a positive direction. those were the ones that really stuck out to me. Like, Dodge is trying to really like establish itself now, kind of a newer identity, but still, make something compelling. And I commend them for it. Hyundai is making their name. Hyundai Genesis is making their name, from a name in the past that wasn't maybe as I guess you could say as honorable. Like, people just talk all the time about old Hyundai's reliability and things like that. But, they've really made some shifts, and it's just cool now to kind of see them come into their own, where they're just super confident about like the decisions they're making and the direction of their company. So those were my standouts. Like I said, maybe a little bit of bias in it, but they stood out to me for sure.
Well, that's great, man. I would have done the exact same thing too, man. Was there any cool like swag that you got from the auto show? Any souvenirs?
Yeah. I actually did get a in jacket, like a windbreaker.
No way.
I have been wanting to get one because they have them at the dealership nearby me, but I just have been just putting it off, and they were kind of weird too, where they only sell them through the service department, and so that was just never timed it right. But the lady that worked there was just super nice, and she actually gave me like a free bag along with it and some other things too. But yeah, snagged me a jacket over there. I wish I would have got the signed posters that the Shelby guy was signing. Like I said, I'm bummed that I missed out on that, because that would have been a cool little thing to kind of collect from that event. But the main thing was the jacket and the experience, I guess you could say.
Oh, that's great, man. I'm sure lots of photos too. You got lots of photos?
Oh, a lot of photos, and maybe just a small plug is there definitely will be a video coming out of my channel.
There you go. Look out for that.